So,
It's gone.
welcome to How to Be Friends with Dave and Shawn. My friend Shawn has just thrown his water source on the floor. He's not, in fact, trying to posture himself attractively for the audience. And this is how we bring the delight. This is how the good things come. I am, of course, wearing my mask for you today because I'm doing my part to stop the spread.
Yes, don't spread anything in your own home, including your legs.
I am following the examples of our leaders who wear masks on Zoom calls.
I don't understand that. I don't get it one bit.
It's too much. It's too much. I'm just amazed that people. Again, wonderful that the vaccine is out and everything. Wonderful that all of those things are there, and then people still aren't living their lives. It's like I was speaking to someone who didn't want to go to a party because of the virus, and I'm like, "Well, you got your vaccine, didn't you?" And he's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "So?" He's like, "Oh, I don't want to get the virus." I was like, "So why did you get the vaccine?"
Right.
To not get the virus. So
I mean, I guess you could still, be a carrier in some way. But
no.
once you go home and shower, you're good, right? Like,
that's I don't know if I told you, but in Vancouver, Washington. Okay, so there's first off, we've finally settled in. There's no data to show that asymptomatic people spread the virus. There's also no data to show that it spreads on surfaces. That whole thing at the very beginning of like cleaning your Amazon packages before you pick them up was total crap. Here in Vancouver, Washington, the Vancouver Public Library is open for service. 30 minutes an hour every hour.
Because they're going through and disinfecting the library, right?
Yeah, so each hour they're open. 30 minutes you can come in, the other 30 minutes they're cleaning. If they had told me, if they instead said, "Hey, we have dirty, nasty hobos coming in here all day," I would accept the logic of that behavior over coronavirus.
Gross people are coming into the library and using our computers to masturbate in the corner. So we've decided that 30 minutes out of every hour, we're going to disinfect what is essentially the arcade and an adult shop right next to the periodical section. I'd be like, cool, appreciate you. But yeah, that's complete overkill.
Stop the spread of Hep C.
My
apparently.
God. What?
Get it.
I told you have a snack. Do not eat too many chips. You haven't had dinner yet. Okay, one bag.
No.
Jiminy Christmas.
No, okay. And now, I haven't done this in a minute, but I'm going to do this right now. This episode is brought to you by Fruit Snacks. Okay?
Yeah, they're delicious.
If you're an adult without children in your house, you do not need children as an excuse to have fruit snacks in your house.
Also, I just want to put this out there. Apparently, as an adult, you don't eat fruit by the foot and stuff like that. Instead, you call it fruit leather.
Yeah, and it's shorter. By adulting, we've effectively robbed ourselves of some, really, 6 inches of deliciousness.
And if you call anything leather, and you can't make something into a bag out of it, like. You cannot turn fruit into a handbag. You can't call it leather. It's not leather.
Okay. Let me get to real quick here. I want to speak for a moment on how to be friends.
How do you be friends?
You do this. I've appreciated the people, Eric, if you're listening, you especially, saying like, you guys this isn't a how-to. It actually is.
This is exactly how you maintain a friendship. You talk to each other.
Right. And in that regard, I want to thank you for
Eric.
Eric. I want to thank you for being there. This was a long week for me.
Yeah. How long was it?
It was 7 days. No. And in that regard, you work so much so much that I actually, like, part of me is thinking, like, me sending you little voice messages, video messages every now and again is, like, also necessary to keep you from going insane. Connect to the outside world.
This week, starting on Sunday and ending end of day Saturday, did 79 hours.
It's,
that is a full pay period of 2 weeks in 1 week.
The only time I have worked like that was when I was a full-time missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. At my best, in that case, I clocked at my peak like 120 hours out doing my thing a week.
Subsequent hours a week or every 2 weeks, because that's a lot of hours.
A week. I was just out and sleeping. That was it.
Because
it was awesome.
So what's that, like 14, 15 hours a day?
Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, because also missionaries can't do anything else.
That's also correct.
You're not allowed to play video games.
Might have done that.
Yeah. You're not. I mean, basically, your goal is to spread the word of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and sleep.
Right. Which, for those of you who don't know, was always a fun conversation when we would knock on doors. This is an important principle in religion, which is something I think I wanted to bring up this week anyway. But to get back to the point, we'd knock on doors and people would be like, "How much you getting paid for this?" And it would floor a lot of people. Were like, "Nothing. In fact, we have to pay for it ourselves." And they're like, "Oh, I would always make the joke that very few people would get, but the retirement package is great.
Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, that's talking about your eternal salvation.
My father-in-law used to use them to help him in his garden.
Yes.
He was very upfront. I have absolutely no interest in your LDS or Mormon religion. But the cool thing about LDS missionaries is like, yeah, that's cool. You want us to help you with anything? Yeah. Half of it is spreading the word of Christ, and the other half is basically like helping the community.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't think people understand that. It is not like when you turn on I can't even remember what the networks were called. What were the religious networks? Like
TBN and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's still on.
100% admonishment. 24 hours a day. Give us your money or you're going to hell. Doing nothing for the community. But yeah, the missionaries were always helpful.
Yes, yeah. And I remember one particular day walking by a person who was trying to build a retaining wall. We're like, "Hey, how's it going? You know, blah, blah, blah." Like, "All right, you guys want to help it?" And we're like, "Yeah." And then we did, and it floored him. You know, because it is a lot easier to do it when you're full-time theology, but still, that would be kind of cool if we could still do that in life. If we had, I mean, nobody has the time for that, but it would be cool.
No, I mean, I don't have the time for that. Who does? I mean, if you're retired, that's cool. But if you're going to retire, do what my dad does and buy a really expensive metal detector, drive 2.5 hours south and go look for gold. Why would you want to build a retaining wall?
No. Okay. So I got to get back to, so you heard all my drama this week, and I won't hash through everything, because I've already done that. I don't know that our audience necessarily needs that, but if you do, email.
Nor do we want to put that in the ether necessarily. We don't want that part of a permanent record.
Not yet. Yeah. Not yet. But, okay, so you, of course, heard the drama of my previous adventure in nursing school, which starts Monday.
Yes.
Okay? And for anyone who hasn't heard that, I was 10 days into nursing school. I had started my in-person labs. I had a nice groove, and via email, I got just booted from the program for a compliance reason, right? It's great. It's really good. I was really happy. You remember me being really happy about that.
You seemed ecstatic, but in the opposite way.
So, okay, this week was the final week for everything. Now, I have my CPR through the American Red Cross. It has been the American Heart Association to this point, but it has recently become the American Red Cross, and our EMT and the Army have decided they want that. Great. So when I'm doing my
Because
compliance
the American Heart Association never goes to a war zone like the American Red Cross.
stuff, also a really valid point that I hadn't thought of. So I'm uploading all of my stuff, and I upload my CPR, and the people say, we have to have American Heart Association. And I'm like, okay. So I boot it to the college for review. This week, Tuesday, the compliance lady says, okay, you have to have American Heart Association. We can't take American Red Cross. I'm like, cool, that's fine.
I have 6 days to get this done. Fantastic.
Right. So I go ahead and I schedule it, right? And the soonest I could get it is like not tomorrow, but next Monday, right? A week out, which I figured would be fine because clinicals start after that. I walk out with the American Heart Association card and I'm good to go. Friday, Shawn. Friday, my academic advisor's like, can you get a CPR right now because you might not be able to start?
First of all, I have one. Secondly, if you want me to get one, there's about 5 people in my unit that'll get me one.
Right.
Do you want me to take the class or just get you one?
Right.
Because in the military, there's 2 ways to get your CPR card. Go through the class, or just go talk to the E5 who submits the paperwork and be like, hey, man, scribble me a card. And they're like, yeah, you know how to press on chests and blow into mouths, right? Yep. Cool. You're certified.
Stamp. Now, that being said, of course, the Army's only giving American Red Cross.
Right.
And so I had to have.
Yeah.
I could not pencil whip it.
So did you find a fire department or a local fire department that would certify you?
Well, the thing that was driving me nuts is I'm taking the class in a week before I go out and deal with the public on behalf of the college. What's the problem? They're like, we have to. And I'm like, thank gosh. Wow, what am I, 12? Thank God. I go into the compliance system, the ACE map system, and it turns out that my CPR from the last time I did this, American Heart Association.
Oh, it's still good.
Expires at the end of this month.
So you just reprinted it?
I sent the screenshot. I'm like, look, you guys have the data to carry me through the end of the month. My class, I'm like, don't do this to me. And I'm good. I'm starting Monday. Thank God.
It's so hard.
I have that attorney on speed dial. I was
just
ready.
Waiting.
It was a beautiful thing. A beautiful thing. Now, okay. So you and I didn't talk a whole lot before this episode about the things that we wanted to talk about, and I kind of like that because you think well on the fly, and I get good reactions from you, and so I want to talk about something important.
Okay.
I have been recently diagnosed with narcissism.
You're a narcissist? According to who?
I have people in my life who will not be named who are convinced that I'm evil because I am completely self-absorbed.
Okay.
And I'm thinking about this. It actually kind of bothers me a little bit, Shawn, because I will actually go, oh my God, am I a narcissist?
When you say people, is it person?
Yes.
Is it possibly somebody from a previous relationship?
I'm just going to say that the mental and emotional stability of this person is in great question. But still, I find myself going, am I really a narcissist?
Absolutely, positively. What the hell?
But it makes the good point that everyone knows what a narcissist is by definition. But realistically, even the most selfless of us is still guilty of some narcissistic qualities, right?
Yeah,
because
it's called self-preservation, or we die.
Thank you.
You don't put others before yourself. Well, I'd like to take a shower. Can I shower first?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, without any preparation, Shawn, I want you to take a moment here and think about what are actually some of the narcissistic traps people are falling into in your observation in the world of retail.
Like in being a narcissist?
Yeah, because, okay, in this world...
Retail, I don't really see it that often. There's rude people, but really not anything narcissistic.
Okay, and see? All right, that's what I'm trying to get into.
Big difference.
But it's a great start, okay? There's a lot of narcissism in the modern world, in our selfie world, and people who are doing podcasts all the time. But okay, if you have any real concern about narcissism, you're probably not a narcissist, so start there. But you hit on a good point. Is like, there's a lot of things in life that if you hyper focus on, other things are going to fall away. So if you're worried about being narcissistic, start by being polite.
Right. Yeah, just be nice to people.
Consider what you can do to make the day better for those around you.
Right. Be concerned about the thoughts and feelings of others as opposed to just your own.
Right.
Right.
So
I'm sociopaths.
I know. Golly. Even one of my best friends who describes himself as a high-functioning sociopath does mountains of good things for other people. Don't worry. Don't try to think.
This is the friend I've met.
Yeah.
A couple times.
Yes. He's a great guy. And
I would describe him as a sociopath as probably just having a slight mental health disorder. I wouldn't call him sociopath.
No. I'm using his words.
Oh, okay.
Right. These are his words. Sometime maybe we'll bring him in on a call if there's a way to do three-way on a...
He's essentially me cranked up 5 notches.
In a lot of regards, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, I have a knack for being friends with people with some issues.
Yeah.
No offense.
Yeah, none taken. I had like 4 friends, but there's a reason, because I don't get along with a lot of people, and the few people I'm friends with also don't get along with a lot of people.
It's true.
And it's not because I think I'm better than most people. It's because I know I'm better than most people.
Specifically me. To that regard, it's a funny thing as well, because I have the capacity to be able to get along with people. I just don't want to.
No, exactly. See, that's the thing. Not putting on a facade and changing your demeanor person to person to accommodate them is not being narcissistic.
Right.
You're just being yourself.
And
I will admit, I'm probably rude to some people, because there are some people that will try to talk to me and I'll be like, hey, I understand where you're coming from, but I got to be honest, completely not interested in this discussion.
Right.
And they probably think that's rude, but honestly, I'm just being honest. I don't mean to be mean to you. I don't think you're a bad person. I just really don't want to talk to you at that moment. Don't take it personal. I'm not, me personally, I'm not in the mood for anything like that.
People say they value honesty until honesty actually hits them.
Yeah, until you're actually honest, and they're like, well, that was rude. No, it wasn't rude.
No. If you had said what you're telling me is stupid.
You want me to be mean? Sure, I don't want to take part in this conversation because you have the depth of a fucking parking lot puddle. That's why I don't want to talk to you.
Correct.
But, yes, when it comes to that, or you talk about, like, when people, like, being a sociopath or whatever. Yeah, the thing is, there is so much politically correctness where everybody is supposed to make everybody feel good about themselves all the time, that as soon as you don't do that, all of a sudden you're a narcissist or you're a sociopath or you're self-absorbed.
Oh, actually, okay. So I have a plan to be able to tie everything together, but I wanted to hit a point real quick. Okay. So we have a lot of hysterics right now, as illustrated by coronavirus, okay? If you're walking down the street on a sunny day with nobody around you and you're wearing your mask, you're kind of involved in those hysterics because you're doing something completely irrational, right? Histrionics, if you will. There was one of the podcasts I was listening to. In full disclosure, it was Drew Pinsky was talking about how the histrionic, everything is terrible, everything is awful, everything can kill us, etc., can be followed. The flip side of that is the over complimenting of things, the over massaging of things.
Right.
I was like, I hadn't thought about that before. But yeah, when we're not, there's so much superfluous praise of things when we're not terrified by something. I know you don't like to get political, but I'm using this as a good example. The amount of praise for President Biden is 100% unwarranted. He is not cognizant. He can't complete sentences. And the poor guy, I'm 100% convinced, is just being shoved papers under his nose by radical people, and he's signing them. So when it's something that you don't like, it's so easy to panic about it in this world. When it's something that you do like, it's so easy to worship it. What do you think?
I think for a lot of people, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, but I think a lot of people are extreme like that to begin with.
Oh, chicken and the egg. So maybe it isn't necessarily that the coronavirus caused all of this. It's that society was already in a place to be hysterical about whatever, and they just picked coronavirus.
The same reason we have those U.S. gravy soldiers, it's militant groups all over the U.S. because a nation of warriors without a war, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
if we don't have something to fight, we need to find something to do. So everybody just got to jump on a bandwagon because it is in our nature to be fighting against something, whether it's physically or emotionally or politically or.
True.
And it's fueled by a society that runs on coffee and cigarettes and energy drinks and alcohol and methamphetamines and constantly pot, trying to chase away your emotions and numb yourself to it. I mean, we are very few people out there are truly I feel are truly comfortable with their emotions and their train of thought. And just how many people do you know that you could sit in a room with nothing going on?
It's limited to my best friends, really.
Okay. Not talking, not looking at a phone, not listening to music. A majority of people that I've known, if they're alone with their own thoughts, they become extremely fucking uncomfortable.
Right.
There has to be a distraction in some way. There has to be a cell phone. There has to be a cigarette. There has to be pot. So it's just, I don't think people are good at it anymore.
I'm going to get, I'm a big, big, big believer in people actually having a religion. The growth of, well, I'm spiritual, but I don't consider myself religious, has not helped us at all. And part of the reason is we're all a bunch of children, and we need sometimes we need to be given simple instructions for things. Sometimes we need to be tricked into things. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, but even people with religion still aren't good at that. But yeah.
Yes.
I'm tracking.
The trick, I'm actually going to use the Islamic faith as a good example of how there is a rigid program of praying 3 times a day. A specific there's a singularity of gravity beneath Shawn's desk.
Shit keeps falling over. Sorry.
By the way, I'm going to finish my thought, but remind me to tell you how the military has told me how old I'm getting. Let me get back to the point. Okay, so 3 times a day, there's prayer, okay?
Right.
During that prayer, like, stuff is forced out of your head, and you're forced to focus on something.
Right.
And basically meditate.
Yes.
Okay.
It's extremely healthy.
It does not diminish you as a human being to let something else in your world teach you how to do something. The world out here will not be changed by the way you feel about it. If you feel like spirituality is supposed to be done this way, okay, cool. But again, consider that the reality of meditation, morals, etc., in the external world may not agree with your perception.
Yeah.
Now, for humorous purposes.
Yeah.
You and I have been climbing all over military vehicles a good deal, right?
I fell off a few, but yeah, continue.
And sometimes when you're up on top of a military vehicle, using the ladder is rarely the most expeditious way to get off of the military vehicle, right?
Yeah, but you never jump because it's pretty stupid.
I frequently jump, Shawn, because, of course, I don't have the advantage of being tall like you. You have 2 options when dealing with things that are high. If you're a tall person, you're the one holding something up while some small person climbs up and adjusts it or whatever, right? Now, in this particular case, I realized I'm getting old, Shawn. Because while working on an MTV, I jumped off of it. What do you suppose happened, Shawn?
I'm assuming you landed wrong.
I actually landed perfectly. The interesting thing about it is, now that I'm 40 years old, different parts of my body hurt when gravity suddenly yanks down.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll happen. What hurt?
My sack.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I had to walk it off for a second. I was like, oh no.
Here's my question, though.
Yes. We're circling around. I got stuff to get back.
What type of support were you
Boxer briefs.
wearing?
Boxer briefs.
Boxer briefs, but loose fitting, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I don't like things sticking, so
Yeah, I wear usually a nice snug pair of boxer briefs. Which offers support.
They offer support without making you feel like you're wearing a diaper or digging into your inguinal area. How's that sound?
I think your boxer briefs have failed you.
Yeah, I probably need some new ones, or I need to get. Apparently, this anyway. Okay, let me get back to something constructive and stop talking about my hurt balls. Did you listen to the Jordan Peterson Sunday special that I recommended to you?
No.
That's okay. In the lessons of how to be friends, don't be that person who forces upon your friend something.
I probably would have listened to it if it didn't involve that other guy.
That's fine.
I also probably would have listened to it if I had time for it.
I understand. I know that your anti-Semitism really gets in the way of a lot of things in your life, but that's.
Is he Jewish?
Yes, he's the Jewish of Jewish of Jews. Yarmulke and everything, man.
We're talking about the same guy?
Ben Shapiro, yes. Orthodox Jew. As Orthodox as they come.
Well, I'm glad to know I didn't like him for other reasons.
Right? Yeah, he and myself.
I guess I could have guessed by the last name, but honestly, the guy has a Never mind. I'm not going to be mean about somebody. Just because I don't like them, I don't have to be mean about them.
That's okay. Now, okay. So the point that I was trying to get to with Jordan, we'll just fast forward to the end. The point to get to with Jordan Peterson, who, as you're indicating, is objectively very interesting and is one of those people who I believe would jive with you a great deal because he's one of those people who insists on speaking the truth even if it's unpopular, which has made him popular, which is great. Let me get to the point. He actually got emotional during this Sunday special interview when talking about the reward of helping people meet their potential.
Okay.
All right. You and I are parents.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything better than giving our kids awesome experiences?
No, it's very rewarding.
It is absolutely rewarding. That's like instinctively within us, right? As healthy parents, unhealthy parents wouldn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say some of us.
Right. As healthy, normally functioning parents, there is absolutely nothing better than giving our children amazing experiences, right? So it resonated with me because like that same parental instinct exists in me with the people around me. Like the more that I like help other people around, this is why I train a lot at work. The more that I help people around me succeed, I was like, oh, feels good, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we have a rich, successful person who is out there trying to tell people that the purpose of life is not to accumulate goods and services, not to post on Instagram all your wonderful things, but in what you're good at, use to help other people.
Yes.
Coming back around to narcissism.
Okay.
If anyone out there doesn't want to be a narcissist, help other people.
Okay.
You're responding as if I'm saying this specifically to you. You help people. You've helped. I'm actually talking you up for a moment because of the fact that the core of this is parenting. There's like this. We just had Shawn. Today is Happy Birthing Person's Day. Did you know that?
Yes, I wished my mother a happy Mother's Day, and I wished my wife a happy Mother's Day.
No, you did. Today is Happy Birthing Person's Day.
Well, seeing as how men can't squeeze a baby out of their urethra,
no,
I'm going to go with the term mother.
No, that's wrong. Men can have babies.
I've met a lot of people who have squeezed children out of their vagina who freaking suck at anything having to do with child raising. Yes. That's not a mom.
I am, of course.
You're a human incubator. There's a difference between a mother and an incubator.
Yes. I am, of course, being facetious, highlighting the point that we need to remember Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there, sincerely. Because right now, there isn't as much value on being a parent. There is not as much value. In fact, we're now it has come to America as it has many other countries. Holy crap, we're not having enough kids. Which will devastate a country. It's devastating.
The right people aren't having enough kids.
Well, you're right about that. Right people or not, we're not having enough kids. And that'll devastate a country, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm talking you up a little bit in this regard. Because you have
because of all my kids?
You have 1 million kids.
I do. Several children. We might also adopt in the future, depending on how things go.
Which would be awesome. Which brings me to my next point, is that you only made 2 of them. The others you chose.
Yes.
Which is exceptionally noble.
Okay.
This is not, by the way, histrionics of complimenting. I'm trying to make the point because of course I'm also, for anyone else who, like me, actually sits around and goes, oh heck, am I a narcissist? This is one of the things that you. Oh, good, we got a guest coming. You can come. You want to come say hi?
Hello.
Hello.
This is our guest. You can't choose to care for people and have that a narcissistic characteristic.
Yeah, probably no. You can't. No, those don't go hand in hand.
Do not go hand in hand. What are you eating there, son?
You know what?
Do your kids go through tortillas like butter?
Yeah. So Piper
Yeah.
will just eat tortillas.
Yeah.
She'll just eat a tortilla.
Uh-huh.
Nothing about the flavor and the texture. I'm assuming it's a flour tortilla.
Yeah. Nice soft flour tortilla.
Yeah.
Sam will even go so far as to just throw some dang peanut butter in it, roll it up, and eat it like that on the go.
Oh, dude, yeah, I'll do that.
It's
Yeah, that's like
doing that little honey on it, which is, of course, God's own sweetener.
God's own sweetener. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Yeah?
You're just chilling, recording your podcast, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, this week was pretty good. I was going around and I got some stuff, spackled some more on my walls. And then some asshole opens up one wall of your house, looks in and is like, hey, David. And then scrapes part of your wall off of your house and then closes it again. And then you look out your window and he spreads it on a tortilla. What the fuck? Why?
It'd be even creepier. Hang on
I worked all week for my wife for that.
I gotta tell you, actually. Okay, so that's horrifying enough. But imagine the psychological gaslighting that happens if you're a bee in one of these cultivated hives where they just have a spigot on that they're just draining the honey out of. It's like you're gonna go insane.
Keep filling this place up, and it's going somewhere.
Which I'm genuinely sorry at this point to anyone listening that we have gone into the plot of B movie. It wasn't a good movie.
It
Sam,
wasn't a good movie, but those two did do stuff.
They did. Sam, did you see B movie? Did you like it? No. Yeah, it sucked. There we have it.
What's the deal with bees? Yeah, you could have found somebody else to.
Anyone else. An Alan Tudyk, for example, would have given some nice flavor to that. Nice flavor to that.
I wonder how much he got paid to be the voice of a bee in B movie.
Too much. I mean, we're talking about people who are getting paid like $1 million an episode to make Seinfeld.
Yes.
Ridiculous. Okay, so I do want to talk a little bit about the one other thing that I want to cover. I'm now 3 for 3 on emergency medical care with my kids.
Good job.
Meaning that all 3 children at this point have had substantial bleeding sufficient to make their mother panic. Yes. All 3 of them have responded to, cleaned them up, closed them up, sent them on their way. The first 2, I will admit, I made the executive decision to go ahead and take them into the ER because, second opinion. Right. By the last one, I'm like, this is good. And in this case, someone else made the executive decision, which of course we won't go into, but someone else made the executive decision. And another medical provider initially made an assessment contrary to my own until this child ended up in front of a doctor who did the exact same thing I did.
Yeah, I will say this right now. If I am sitting in front of a doctor or a PA, not a nurse practitioner.
Mm.
You take your hippie shit back to Washington.
I'm
Every one of you I've ever met, I'm gonna be honest, I'm sure there's good ones out there.
gonna be
Every one
one
of you I've ever, every nurse practitioner I ever met is like, I'm gonna put on my patchouli and drive my Prius in and tell everybody antibiotics are the devil. You can go to hell. Every doctor or PA that I sit in front of, whatever they say, I go, you have the training. Absolutely, you have the experience.
Yes.
However, when I make a medical assessment and somebody's like, well, are you sure? Yup. And I don't want to be a jerk. If you're like a paramedic, like if I make a medical assessment and somebody like Sergeant Fitz comes up and he goes, actually, I would do this. I'm going to look at him and go, yes, the voice of God is spoken. Like, absolutely.
Right.
If your medical experience is watching YouTube videos, don't second guess me. No, I'm sorry. I understand I was just a combat medic, but I was also an instructor, which means I knew it, still know it, inside out, backwards and forwards, up and down. I know it.
Mm-hmm.
So when El Wifo second guesses me,
there we have it.
I'm like, listen, I'm going to discuss this with you, but I'm right. That's just the way it is. Do you think they need to go to the emergency room? No. So when things like that happen to you, that would drive me up a wall.
It did, which obviously is why I was so frustrated in the instance. And again, part of the frustrating thing was it's really obvious when a person is concussed. It's really damn obvious.
Mm-hmm. Yes. There are people out there that seem to think whenever you hit your head, you get a concussion.
I mean, I have now this sweet little clip from the video on my dash cam of, okay, so here's a good thing in medicine, okay? First off, a fun fact. The stats may have changed, but you and I both know as a combat medic, there's the group of people that we can do something. Well, excuse me. There's the group of people that no matter what we do, we can't save them. There's the group of people that no matter what we do, they'll be okay.
Yes.
And then there's about 12% of the casualties that require intervention to survive, right?
Yes.
So we're talking about 88% of a medic's job. I'm going to say it explicitly just for the hell of it. 88% of the job doesn't matter to the patient.
No, you're fixing boo-boos.
Right.
Like, let's be honest. You're a walking, talking ibuprofen dispenser. The problem is you have to have an extremely wide knowledge base because as a frontline provider, you have to know when they have to go to the next level of care. Mm-hmm. So that's why we have to be taught all of this crap.
And that's part of why a medic is particularly apt at that triage of saying whether or not this person needs to go to the ER. But let me get back to
I can look at your eyes and have you follow my finger in a flashlight and go, yeah, you're cool.
Yeah. So, it wasn't much to patch up David. And so any good medical professional within the bedside manner seek to improve the situation for everyone else involved. Alice was adorable, Shawn, because I was taking care of David in the front yard, and she was on the neighbor's porch, terrified of this, right? So I got to bring her over. I'm down on her level. I'm giving her calm, the calm voice. I'm giving her a hug. I'm like, now look, David's good. Daddy took care of him, right? Now remember, you're the older sister. Your brothers are going to need you to be strong, so don't be afraid because usually we can, doing the thing, right?
Right.
And then, I look at David. I'm like, David, do you feel better? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, now that you feel better, all you have to do is make sure to protect that, okay? Okay. And I turn to Ben, and I'm like, now, Ben, David's your brother, and you love him, so you want to keep a close eye, take care of him, make sure he doesn't hurt that anymore, right? Okay. And so as a result, felt so good as a dad. Again, parents and experiences. As I am escaping hostile situations, I'll just put it that way. I have now on the video that I pulled from the dash cam, Ben holding David's hand and just walking him inside so he can go inside and rest. And I'm like, oh.
Man, you're doing much better than me because, like, last month I watched Piper knock Keith down and then pretend to butt stroke him to the face with a Nerf gun.
But
which I taught them.
In the world of women's empowerment, Shawn, really you're doing the right thing.
I think so. I mean, maybe it's bad, but it's like, Keith hit me. I'm like, did you hit him back?
By the way,
like your kids, how hard could you possibly hit each other? And then I find out it was with a pool noodle, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's spectacular. If you get a second for a movie, speaking of women's empowerment,
empowerment, I just want to say right now, if you're a cool nurse practitioner, I'm sorry if I didn't mean to hurt your feelings.
Oh no, okay, and if you're a nurse practitioner and your feelings are hurt, you might be one of the antibiotics or the devil hippies. If you're a nurse practitioner and you are not an antibiotics are the devil hippie, then why are you offended right now?
Right. Also, I just want to throw this one in there. Every nurse practitioner I've ever met has told me to lose weight while themselves being like 300 pounds. Practice what you preach, homie.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm overweight, but I ain't that overweight.
Yes. And to that point, that's part of the motivation for me trying to stay in shape, honestly. Shawn.
A fat practitioner telling you to be healthy is insulting.
It is.
And it is non-effective. Yes.
Right. So I confess to my patients a lot of times who have to measure their fluids. They cannot just drink whatever they want and expect to pee it out later. It will literally kill them if they have too much fluid in their system.
Right.
Now, we've talked about before, the reality of empathy. I can't empathize with that. But because I make a point to try to keep an eye on my weight, I can say to them, listen, all of us have to humble themselves. I know if I'm going to lose weight, I actually have to make a record of everything that goes in my face. Everything.
Right. I don't do that so much anymore like you do, but I've been losing weight simply for the fact that I changed my dietary habit.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to count calories when I don't put garbage in.
Right. Now, I will admit on Friday I stress ate an entire Little Caesars pizza because I thought I was going to get kicked out of college again. But the point remains that as a medical practitioner, okay, every communication course out there is going to tell you that really only 10% of communication is verbal, right?
Oh, yes. No, it's nonverbal. It's the way you approach the individual. Make eye contact. Actively listen.
It's people in the South are the best at that. They'd be like, hey, look at you. Boy, howdy. Son, you are just dumb as the day is long, ain't you, son?
Yeah, no. Southern women are the best.
Uh-huh.
Okay? And I will say, I worked with, and I say this from the bottom of my heart with all the love in the world, the black women that I worked with at the police department could insult you to your face and make you feel so good about it. Oh, my God.
Uh-huh. They'll engage you directly.
Yes. Oh, my God. And I loved it because I was like, I know you're insulting me, but you come from such a sweet place doing it.
Yes.
Like, oh, child.
Yep.
You are. You need help. And I'm like, I do.
You're right. So, as healthcare providers, we have to consider it's a position of love, honestly. Like, you feel like they love you while they're telling you broke.
Yes. But at the same time, I wasn't raised like that. In the military environment I was trained in was completely different. Because then you have people who are like, do you know what the chain of command is? No. The chain of command is the chain hanging behind my desk that I'm going to beat you to death with if you don't do what you're told. And you're like, what? And then I read a news story last week about some army sergeant. Did you read about the kid who had to carry around the chain?
No.
They made him carry around a chain around his shoulders to teach him to respect the chain of command.
And it was probably an accusation of racism, wasn't it?
He was black.
Oh.
And he said that chains mean a different thing to him. And I was like, no, that's actually a really good lesson. You're trying to reinforce an idea. But if it's a black thing, I could have you just carry 250 cal ammo cans filled with rocks around. But I found it very interesting that we jumped straight to racism on that issue. Because 10 years ago, if you told me if you don't respect the chain of command, I'm going to have you hump this giant chain around on your neck, I'd be like, wow, that's awesome. What a very creative teaching process.
Which, speaking of chain of command, you remember Colonel Firo and his wonderfulness?
God, I love that guy.
He was so amazing. And part of what made him amazing was the point that he said very clearly, I don't care if you're a specialist or a colonel. Everyone check each other. Any specialist, if you see a colonel doing something wrong, you tell that colonel. And if the colonel has a problem, you tell me, and I will straighten out that colonel. It's absolutely great. In that regard, the fact that this chain of command, using a literal chain of command, no one went, this is going to be a real bad optic, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now that is the opposite side of it. Now,
yes.
Yes. Well, this might end up looking bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm going to call it the backpack of command and give them a really heavy backpack.
You do what you got to do.
The pun isn't there.
No.
Half of the lesson is the pun.
Right. The pun is great.
Yeah, it's a good pun. But yeah, when we talk about communication and things like that, you communicate with body language. And if you are a fat provider or a fat sergeant.
And in that regard, I just want to say real quick, there is a value to the get your act together teaching of the Army. And the point of it is, again, I guess, okay, so this is obviously an episode, the 20th episode, by the way, on the cusp of me starting nursing school and moving up to the next level of healthcare, blah, 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 all of that stuff. And in that regard, healthcare providers need to have a piece of the same kind of training that military has, in the regard that, yeah, you should have an understanding of everything you're doing and why, in as much as it is expeditious. However, we are trained in the military to, on occasion, be able to go, you do that now, and the other person not go, but why? Because if you don't do that thing right now, somebody dies.
Yes, which unfortunately has been a majority of between the police department and the Army. That is probably why I have such problem relaxing no matter what I do now.
Uh-huh.
Because in the back of my mind, the task at hand needs to be done so somebody doesn't die.
Correct.
And it's like ingrained, except the problem is, in my mind, if I don't get these seat covers installed right, somebody's going to die.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's a double-edged sword, I guess they would say.
Yeah, there's the...
But also, unlike in the civilian world or the medical world, where it's kind of hard depending on what you're running into, the military also teaches you to be like, hey, that thing he told us to do, we shouldn't do that, right?
There's some sort of regulation about war crimes?
Yeah. He told us to do that thing, and I'm pretty sure that's unlawful.
Yeah.
Should we verify this?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, let me wrap up a couple of points here. So, yes, 20th episode. Congratulations, Shawn.
And our viewership is still like 21 people. Our view count sucks. If you are watching this and you're like, why are they still doing this? It is definitely not with the thought that this is going anywhere.
No.
We do this just for us.
It's kind of awesome. And again, anyone else that wants to participate, you're going to have a good time because we're going to get you involved. But we're not looking to get rich off of this. There was this short period of time when like we had some viewers and we're like, holy crap, is something going to happen? Then it didn't. And here we are just being friends, and it's awesome. Yeah. That's what it is. Be friends regardless. The other thing is, of course, get ready for this to be my therapy as I get into nursing school, man.
This is my get to sit down, relax, and just chit-chat about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because outside of this, it's either my wife playing catch-up on all the things she hasn't been able to tell me, which, God bless her, I've been working a lot. We don't have a whole lot of time to talk. So when she gets the opportunity to talk, she's just going to talk. And I love that. Or my kids talking because kids talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. There was a bird today.
Yes. Tell you everything.
I had to go to the back door and look at the bird. There's a bird.
Yes.
Look at the bird. I have to look at the bird. I guess I gotta go look at the bird. And
gotta look at the bird.
Yep, that's a nice
bird. Yes. So with that, of course, we are out of time. Do you have any closing comments?
No, I really don't. No, and I had to write them down because it's all blank, buddy.
Beautiful. In that case, Shawn, I want you to have an amazing night. Thank you for this 20 episodes so far. Looking forward to like 2 million more.
Can you start tomorrow?
Starts tomorrow. I'm going to. There is a saloon in Vancouver that opens at 6 a.m. I'm going to be there the crack of them opening. I'm going to sit down with a Diet Coke and I'm going to work for at least 8 hours on college.
Yeah, because the show is over, but a lot of this is online if you don't understand what David is saying right now.
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
Have a great night, sir.
Good night, homie.
Love you.
Love you. Boop.
Boop.